So hello, I'm Joseph Michael Mintal, and I'm a research fellow at the Center for Media, Data, and Society at the Central European University, and a research fellow and a doctoral candidate at Matej University. So my presentation is titled "The Business of Lies: Mapping the Operational and Financial Background Behind Top Slovak Misinformation and Disinformation Websites." So what we've done, because it's a group project. The project is run in, I believe, 5 or 6 countries in Europe. I'm responsible for Slovakia. So as we know, in the last couple of years, misinformation and disinformation websites really started to sprout across many European countries, with Slovakia being no exception. And misinformation and disinformation, obviously, we can attribute a lot of bad stuff to them. So polarization, erosion of trust in democratic institutions, etc. In Slovakia, there's a lot of work being done on what we call narrative research, or narrative disinformation and misinformation research work. So what that work focuses on is mapping the narratives and the spread of certain hoaxes and debunking it, or building strategic communication. So it's really focused on what the disinformation is about. So if it's about like soldiers in like Ukraine or Russian propaganda, so it's really focused on the narrative. And in Slovakia, well, at least in Slovakia, there's not a lot of work being done on who are actually the entities who are running the disinformation and misinformation websites and how they operate. So our project is we're mapping the companies and the individuals running or operating the websites. And we're looking at the sources of funding, who are the entities, how they are connected, and stuff like that. So what is the operational and financial background? This is our methodology. So first, our selection is based on the conspiratory SK database. It's a database of Slovak and Czech disinformation and misinformation websites. It's run by an independent board, so they have historians, media experts, so all kinds of expert people, and they're looking into if a website is bogus. So we use their database, and we also our research has two parts, so a qualitative and quantitative part. The quantitative part, we developed a Python script that scans the disinformation and misinformation websites for certain HTML snippets. So those are like tiny bits of code, for example, Google AdSense code. And if a website has that code, we developed a crawler that searches the web for the same HTML snippet, and we link those two websites together. And the qualitative part, we used hoist databases, about sections, information obtained through various investigative articles, so blogs, etc., investigative dashboard databases, and we also used the financial trade registries, sole trade registries, government databases, etc. So this is we started, I believe, with something like 41 websites, and we developed a larger network, but we only research the websites from the conspiratory database. But this is certainly something scalable, so we try to do this for a larger region in the future. So we it's 49 websites. So we identified 35 out of the 49 websites. So what I mean by we identified is that we kind of were successful in like if who's owning or who's operating the website. it's we also looked at like who are the largest websites, disinformation and misinformation websites in Slovakia. So, for example, just a quick look through this. We have Hlavné správy, which is the largest kind of, I don't want to say news, but it's quasi news or whatever. So it's bogus news. And they have something like 7.5 million monthly visits. So that's really a huge website. And who pulls the strings? So that means who are the entities behind those websites. In 14 cases, it was a civil society organization. In 5, it was a private limited liability company. In 5, it was a sole trader. In 2, we mapped that it was an individual. Those were with high probability, and with lower probability, we were able to successfully identify 5 legal entities and 4 individuals. With that being said, a lot of those entities, as you can see in Slovakia, are civil society organizations. That's because setting up a civil society organization in Slovakia is really easy. And also, when you have a civil society organization, you can sell goods and services. You kind of have to make a tax declaration, but the tax declaration is not publicly available compared to a private limited liability company where all tax returns, tax declarations have to be made publicly available. So that's probably also one reason why we see more of those civil society organizations, but the structure is really complicated. For example, behind one website, we found a network of a civil society organization, a sole trader, a private limited liability company, and they were kind of like trying and operating between each other. And one was selling advertising on the disinformation website, and one was employing people. So we kind of see this like complex entanglements. So who funds misinformation and disinformation in Slovakia? So the main sources of income that we noticed is tax designation. So in Slovakia, under the Slovak tax system, the Slovak taxpayers can allocate 2 or in certain cases 3% of their tax liability to a qualifying entity of their choice. So on average, 36,000 euros is being processed or is being given out through this channel. And we kind of see power law distribution on these websites. So really the large websites pull the largest amount of money. So you can see Zemavek, which is run by an NGO, the Sofian Publishing, and they pulled in around like 50,000 euros. This is also the case what I mentioned earlier, the Sofian Publishing. They also have a limited liability company and a sole trader. So they are obtaining the tax designations through this specific charity or organization, civil society organization, and they're also running the websites through various other legal entities. The other large part of their sources of income is e-commerce. So on 16 websites, we observed that they sell some forms of goods or services. Mostly it was like books or magazine subscriptions. So when you have kind of like a news portal, they sell news subscriptions, but there are some really obscure ones. For example, a really large disinformation and misinformation website. Disinformation website. For example, they're selling a chicken frying pan, and they sell pens, sweatshirts, knives, CDs, books. So you're gonna have like a large they really have a large product base that they're selling, so you kind of like they got to make money. The other part is the crowdfunding part. So a total of 15 websites we identified that they crowdfund. Some were just like they had a website, and some were like kind of there's varying degrees of sophistication. So for example, on some websites, they only declare their bank account number and they say thank you. And in other cases, you kind of see a more elaborate approach. So they accept, for example, Bitcoins and like checks and also sorts of money, and you can and they also have like really nice visual graphics, so they invested probably more in that. And Slobodny Vysielač, so that's the website that I talked earlier about, that they are also saying selling the chicken frying pan. So for example, they got around 98,000 euros in the last tax in the last year. So that's for 2019, I believe. Ads is the last big part of their sources of income. So 27 websites in our sample were identified to to display ads. Most of them use the Google advertising platform. So that's also why we kind of were able to widen the previous list of website from contributory to more, but they are not included in this research. And some are upfront about that they display ads, and some are, as you can see on this picture, in the lower part it says no vulgar language, no advertising, and just above it displays an ad. So that's kind of well, funny and also sad at the same time. This is the yearly revenue for the largest companies that we were able to map. So for example, the Zemavek, the Sofian SRO, so that's kind of a limited liability company that I was talking earlier. So they have Sofian, the LLTD, they have a civil society organization, and they have also other entities. This is only the revenue for the limited liability company. So they made 430,000 euros in 2018. And that's all for the research. The research is part of two projects: the Business of Misinformation, run by the Center for Media Data and Society at the CEU, Central European University, and another research that is being run at the Matej University, the UMB Data and Society Lab. So thank you for your time and for, yeah, thank you.